Alright, for episode 2, we'll be playing Ninja Pizza Girl. The reason I'm bringing this game up is because of the topic that I have in mind. For today, I'm going to be talking about something that I've noticed quite a lot when I'm working. Bullying, and self-esteem, and resilience towards this, so... I'm going to be going into this point. Haven't played this game before. But here's what I'm... That part's not too important. What is important... What is important is how you deal with this bullying. You'll occasionally see people who, well, they're not nice. Let's be honest here. And what you'll see is people who will, they'll say things they'll say mean things. Sometimes it's just in good fun. Sometimes it's not. And when it's not in good fun, I'm going to finish this level. Okay. I'll just let this first level go through, and then between we'll talk about the next. Talk about what I have in mind. Alright. Whatever. Okay. So, the thing about bullying is it's not always so obvious. Sometimes you'll get someone who says something that's mean, but it only sounds mean, and people are used to that. And other times you'll get people who are saying things that are outside of what they're normally used to hearing, and then that's when you get into the kind of bullying that, can cause emotional issues. And originally we had people who would, bullying was seen as something that just happens, and it's something that, you try and stop, but most of the time it suggests that you either react back or you try and ignore it, which neither of these are very good ideas. If you react back, especially for physical bullying, then everyone just gets in trouble, because then there's a fight. And when it comes to just ignoring it, people see you as an easy target then, which isn't the answer either. I see kids who compare themselves to people who are, to other kids who don't have the same physical capabilities as them in a sport, or they don't have the same test scores, and sometimes this is just comparison, but it depends on how you phrase it, or how you look at things that can change it from comparing, competing, or bullying. If you're comparing, then there's no scrutiny. It's just, this is my score, this is that person's score, and that's all there is to it. If you're competing, then it's both of you are trying to have a better score than the other person. But once you reach the third, which is bullying, that's where, you're holding what you have above them. Whether it be sports, or intelligence, or money, looks, anything. Any of that stuff can be used as a form of bullying. And you start to notice that there's a lot of things that we accept as normal in society, even though from another standpoint it could be seen as bullying. Internally, it might not be, depending on the group of friends. So even within a group of friends, there's a difference between, not just bullying, but if it's mean as opposed to, a sign of a good friendship. When you're comfortable enough to say these things to your friends. But there are alternatives. I'm going to go through another level, and then we will reconvene. This game is based on bullying, so I thought that it might be time to really explain some of the advantages about what's going on here, not just in the game, but you might see people who are having a great time together, but you think there might be some bullying involved, which sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's not, though. And I'll pause this. Alright. So the next thing that I wanted to bring up about bullying is how you should really deal with it. And the obvious one is to, the one that feels the most natural, the most obvious one is to react. If it's a physical aggression, to fight back. Or if it's an emotional thing, to call them a name as well. And sometimes this is just automatic, and your mind and your body just automatically goes into autopilot mode, and it just does it. And this doesn't actually fix anything. What you end up having is an escalated moment where both sides are now causing a problem. And then usually it's a third party, someone else, who goes and tries and gets someone to fix this. The smart choice is, if you become injured, or if this person is bullying you and it becomes a constant thing, the best solution is to go and get someone first. But that doesn't always happen. And sometimes it's not always so cookie cutter and so clean as to who the aggressor is or who the person who's in trouble is, especially if we're seeing it from an outside instance. The best way I can really drive this point is that, if you're doing things that could be considered mean or bullying amongst your friends, and your friends and you, this is how you do things, that's one thing. But that's not exactly how everyone else is going to see it. And it's really important that, if you say something, to make sure that it's not something that's going to be seen as bullying. It's super important that what you find important with how you interact with people, you don't have to be nice, but you have to tolerate them. That's kind of a mistake that a lot of people try and tell you. They try to tell you that you have to be nice to people. People know if you're faking being nice to them, and that's going to hurt their feelings, because then they know that you're not really being truthful to them. If you tolerate them, then you accept that they're different. You accept that they have things that you're better at, and you don't need to go any further than that. The last thing is, as I end this video, I'd like to point out that how you how you view yourself based on how others see you, or how you compete with one another. If it comes down to it, don't look at things based on who's better at something. If you're better at something than someone else, that's something that other person should try and work to they should aspire to meet your skill level. And the same thing should go in the other way. What this means is that someone could aspire to be like their best friend at math, and their best friend could aspire to be like this one person is at science. It's kind of like competing, but you're also comparing yourself to another person. But there's nothing vindictive about it. You're not gloating over it. It's just that person is better at me at this thing. I want to be as good or better than them at it. So you're setting goals. You're not setting people as your opposition. It's this person has this level. This is what you're going towards. And it's really important that especially at younger ages, where people can have very different upbringings. Very small things can be seen as very large problems, and while we adults try very hard to try and handle as many of these problems as arise, it's impossible for us to handle everything without your help. So if someone is bullying someone else, even if you're not part of it, it's helpful if we hear about it. And some bullying is really small, like saying that someone's stupid. That's still wrong. But that's something that kids can solve on their own. They don't necessarily need an adult's help. Some things are a lot bigger and do require help, especially if it's, between people of varying differences where one person is obviously going to have an advantage. Just this week we had a second grader who was called stupid and elbowed in the face by a fifth grader. That's a serious problem. And the only reason that the fifth grader had for it was because the second grader wasn't as good at basketball as this fifth grader, who stands like 2.5 feet higher and is 3 years older. That's bullying. That's the kind of stuff that we as adults need to know about, so we can help not only the person who's being aggressed, the victim, but also so we can try and make sure that this doesn't happen in the future, by working with the person who was the aggressor, figure out what it was exactly that was doing this and what triggered this emotional change and how to deal with it so that way it doesn't happen. It's really hard to see things from afar and just try and make a quick decision on it. And, eventually you start getting a record, a bad reputation. It makes getting friends harder, it makes keeping friends harder, and if you keep tendencies towards bullying, what's going to end up happening is you will have no real friends, and you will have people who don't really want to hang out with you. A bullying type personality is very difficult to keep a job, and if you keep getting bad reputations, eventually you might end up getting in trouble with the law, and results, felony reports, jail, which causes even bigger problems. So, it might not seem like much, but even the small bullying, it can escalate, and given enough years, can really mess people up. I think I'll do something brighter next episode. Something with, Minecraft Redstone or something. Something that's less dark.